Hey everyone, what's up? BQ here and TW once again. We skipped the week, so our bad on that. But we skipped the week. Kind of my fault. We scheduled I pushed off the show, the recording, and then I ended up having to work, and then so we're gonna be a little more consistent with doing this
Damn work getting in the way
recording
of
every.
podcasting.
Yeah, we're gonna make sure we record this every Wednesday night and make sure we get it out so that doesn't happen again. But I am BQ. This is TW. This is the Cool Factor podcast brought to you by the Impact Lounge, number one place to be for the Impact Radio. Excuse. Oh my gosh, I'm messing this all up. Number one place to be for the Impact Wrestling fan. There we go. It's getting late here. Tripping all over my own words.
It's
Let's
flannel
get into
season,
this.
baby. It's flannel season.
Yeah.
It's my,
Oh,
my
I like
flannel
it.
flex.
There
You
we
know,
go.
it's been snowing for about 2 days straight here in Connecticut, and I hate it. But it gives me an opportunity to wear my fresh flannel. You know what I'm saying? Flannel season. Al Borland, how you doing?
See that's the difference. That's the difference with me as a Cali boy. Like I love when it snows
Do you really?
because I didn't grow up around that at all. So it brings out the kid in me. Like I don't want to go outside and play in it. Don't get me wrong, but I mean to me it's gorgeous. I see it hit. I'm like, oh, love it. You know.
Well, as an adult, you got to shovel it. You got to shovel it. Then you got to drive to work in it. You know what I mean? Risking your life around the people who don't know that there's snow and ice on the ground and still want to drive 80 miles an hour. That's
Right.
always fun. That's always fun.
What's funny, we don't usually start off topic like this, so we're doing a little different. There was several years ago, before I got custody of my boys, I went down to Florida to see him, and it was this one day that it snowed. It was funny because it was snowing in Illinois. I'm kind of like, all right, well, Florida is actually pretty cold during the winter in certain parts. People don't know that. Um, Actually, if you watch AEW, you know that they're going to relocate out of Daly's place because the wrestlers are freezing.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't,
Yeah,
but I did think it was funny. I was watching AEW and I saw Team Taz cutting a promo and Brian Cage standing there with his shirt off. I was like, dog, I know you're in Florida, but I also know it's cold as hell right now.
yeah.
I was like, how are you standing out there with no shirt on?
Yeah, dude, it gets it can get pretty cold there. It's a different kind of cold with the humidity, but it was like really freezing in Illinois. I went down to Florida. I'm like, okay, cool. At least it'll be a little bit better. And I went for this like random. It snowed like for the one day in however many years. It was the
Yeah,
craziest thing, and everyone was losing their minds down there. And it was nothing compared to like Illinois snow. It was just so
right.
funny. And I saw this meme that came out that was like. Snow day on a when it snows in the Midwest and it shows like the kids going to school and then it showed like snows in the South and it's like a couple patches of snow and
Yeah.
schools canceled. And that's exactly what it was. Everyone just like lost. Oh, they canceled school. I mean, it was the funniest thing, dude. But no, it's cool to me. But what's also cool was the cool factor. We're gonna talk a little Impact Wrestling here, so we're gonna just hit on a couple things of the show, and then I got a burning question for TW after this, and that's gonna be kind of the main topic of the podcast. But there's a couple things that stood out from the show. TW is gonna bring them up. We're gonna talk on them. From what I saw on social media, a lot of people didn't care for the episode. I thought it was okay. It's so different for me because now I'm enjoying the commentary. So even if the
Yeah.
show's maybe not that good, I'm
Uh-huh.
still kind of digging it. I still hate the background music segments, and that's I'm gonna say that every week, and that's never gonna stop. And I'm always gonna hate them.
Right.
There was one interview going. I don't remember which one it was, man. Oh, and Trey and Sammy Callahan and start playing the fucking music. I'm like, oh my god, I fucking hate this. But other than that, this show worked for me. So hit me with some things that just that kind of stood out.
Right.
We don't want to review the
So
show. We're
this
talking.
show lacked any like big signature moment really. Like there was no, no like Good Brothers invasion. I mean, there was moments, but there was no like big bang type of moment, right?
Yeah,
But there was a few things that did stand out to me from this show. For one, it was you can either call it a youth movement or you can call it familiar faces and fresh places, but Madman Fulton, Josh Alexander, Trey Miguel are all faces that we know, but are doing something new. right? Madman Fulton, we see him, trying to establish himself as a single star with Ace Austin is kind of his Shawn Michaels. He's kind of looking like Diesel, that type of relationship.
Yeah.
Then, we see Josh Alexander and, he's off on his own. They didn't properly end the North, but, that's another story for another day. And, we see Trey Miguel establishing his own self. I thought he cut a good promo, just he really showed his passion, right? He's passionate, he's intense, and that's what we're going to get from Trey Miguel as a singles competitor. He really emphasized that he had crutches before, and now he's here to show everybody he can stand on his own 2 feet. I thought that was cool. Josh Alexander, I think it's crucial that they get Josh Alexander right, because if they get Josh Alexander right, they can have a signature Impact talent.
Yeah.
He's Canadian, so when they get back to touring, he can go to Canada and be somebody that's a draw in Canada.
Yeah.
He's a guy that people don't know from anywhere other than Impact. And honestly, to me, this guy has Kurt Angle written all over him. And I think that's how they should present him. They should present him as this killing machine, just straight up intensity. And he should be plowing, mowing through people. You know what I mean? Establish that this guy is a big, big deal. Don't mess around with it. Don't wait till he's on the last 6 months of his contract. Do it now. Establish Josh Alexander as a big deal. And I think he's somebody that people can see as an Impact guy. So what do you think of the familiar faces in fresh places?
So let me touch on Josh Alexander there. So it's very rare in this wrestling landscape right now that we can have a badass babyface
Right. Right.
champion or main eventer. Like they try to do with John Moxley a little bit, but to me, it's more the character he tries to be rather than probably how he really is. You know, there was years where it was the white meat baby face, but they were getting booed. And I used to always say, dude, why can't a baby face be a badass? Why does why does it always have to be the heels that are? And he really can be that like badass babyface champion that you actually cheer for because he's cool and not because he's out there and, oh, if you knock me down, I'll get right back up, and
Right.
I never quit, I'll never stop. That's not who he is. And he got his promo chops up really good during his time with the North. I would like to see him get a brand new theme song that's like special to him, because that song sucks in my opinion. That North theme song. I always say Impact either has like this like amazing theme or just absolute fucking dog shit.
Mm.
And I always talk about the Falaba theme, the Willie Mack theme. I don't like Ace Austin's. There's a few that I just think are so bad, and that one is like, it's right there.
Okay.
I'd like to see him get like a very something that when that hits, like you can get that pop from the crowd. So, like Eli Drake said when he was with Impact and he had his theme, he wanted to start it off with Eli Drake because it's like you knew who was coming out. Because a lot of the times you hear that first note of the music and you don't know who the hell's coming out.
Right.
And he didn't want that. I watched the Royal Rumble and actually really liked it. It was funny. It was one of those things, I know Groundhog Day happened, but I was sitting here. I was like, dude, my life is like Groundhog Day, man. And I was just like, I'm gonna watch the Royal Rumble, dude. Like I just pulled that out of nowhere, and I really liked it. But a lot of the wrestlers came down, and the music would start playing, and oh, I can't. And I'm sitting here like, I don't know who it is,
Right.
But then there were some guys I still remember their music from a long time ago because of that boom that it would hit you with. So I would like to see him get a new theme, one that it's kind of like the Stone Cold, the Broken Glass. Because he can be a real player. But as you were saying, I'm gonna tie that into the Rumble again. Actually, it's great to see them do something different and do something fresh. Because as much as I did enjoy the Rumble, what I didn't enjoy was when now granted I haven't watched WWE in 4 years. The Miz comes out. He's the same exact character that I
Mhm.
saw 4 years ago doing the same shit. Like there was
Mhm.
nothing different to him.
Yeah.
And Cesaro came out, it's the same, like I'm gonna swing you around. I mean,
Yep.
so Orton came out, RKO out of nowhere. Like that
Mhm.
shit, I'm just like, dude, that shit is so even 4 years later, so tired to me.
Yeah.
Um, and then a few people came out and they were different from what I remember them. I wish I could say someone off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know, but that being said, it feels good. It feels good to freshen somebody up.
Right.
And Trey, I would have liked his segment, his interview to be longer to get to know him and his mindset a little bit more.
Right.
But I think it got the point across. But it was nice to see him be fresh, and I don't really like the blonde hair thing, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
You wanted to look different. There's not much different you could look as a dude. Like the
Right.
women can
Hey,
change
Cody
their
Cody Rhodes did it, right?
yeah, and I think he looks stupid like that. The women can change up their look a lot easier. Like Rosemary looks so different overnight. So, um, so who else were we talking about? There was Trey. There was Josh
There's
Alexander.
Madman Fulton, Josh Alexander, and Trey.
Yeah,
So yeah. So if you
Madman
want to touch on
Fulton.
Madman Fulton,
His theme was a little odd to me. I couldn't figure out if I liked it or hated it. It was just
okay.
so different.
Mm,
But I'm so used to him coming out with Ace's music or OVE.
yeah.
So yeah, he felt a little bit different to me. He's taken a couple losses this year already. These guys haven't been on TV in months. He's been on TV like in 2 matches so far and took a couple pins. So I'd like to see that stop,
Yeah.
with him. And then Hernandez.
Wait. Sit.
Oh, didn't you bring him up?
Pause. Back it up. Beep beep beep. We're not getting to Hernandez just yet.
I thought he was
Hernandez is
one of the
coming,
names you
but we're
said.
not just yet. Not just yet. Not just yet.
Okay,
All
so
right. All right.
all right.
So since you mentioned that, we're gonna shift gears a little bit here, and I want to say this, right. I like seeing the familiar faces in fresh places, but something I don't think I want to see, but I can't look away is also happening on Impact Wrestling.
Okay.
And what that is Matt Cardona and Brian Myers are on a collision course, and I hate it. I hate
Oh,
it here. I don't want to see a feud between but I kind of do. I kind of do. It's weird. So here's how I feel about this. You cannot build your show around the former Zack Ryder. You can't. You just can't. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to work. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be on the show. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that his brand has been established as loser. And he's this generation's Brooklyn Brawler. You know what I mean? Like he's somebody that is just known for losing. He even went to AEW, and I'm not sure if he lost or he won, but he
he
didn't
didn't
do anything
do
memorable.
anything. No.
You know what I mean? He didn't do anything memorable. So he cannot come be a feature player on your show. Now, Brian Myers, by the other hand, right? Like he's someone who has been building. He's been building. He is washing the stink of what was his WWE character's name?
Kurt Hawkins.
Kurt Hawkins. He's washing the stink of Kurt Hawkins off of him, and he's doing a great job of it. He's showing us he can talk. He's showing us he can be, intense. He can have good matches, right? Like it's working for him.
It's kind of like EC3 had to do that,
Right.
reestablish himself and go up from there.
And the thing is, I don't think that the only way this is positive is if Matt Cardona ends up doing the job, doing the favors for Brian Myers, and Brian Myers continues his climb up, because Matt Cardona cannot come in and start winning matches. He just can't, bro. He can't. He cannot, because it's gonna make you look like a C D level outfit if the guy who was the internet champion or the internet champion, right? Like if that guy comes in here and starts winning, then it's just going to make Impact look like a clown show. It's gonna fulfill all the jokes people were making about Impact, about how they just would take anybody from WWE and let them be a champion. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So what do you think about this this train wreck that I don't want to see, but I can't look away?
So the Brian Myers side of things, we talk about this a lot with him. I just think everything he does is it's like what I always say about Moose. Everything he does is so good. Like Brian Myers to me is the same thing. When he came out the eye patch, I was like, it's hilarious.
Right.
Because he got poked in the eye once or twice, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not cleared to wrestle." All this shit. So that's hilarious to me without being bad humor. Like it's like telling when someone tells a joke and you laugh and they're like, "Get it?" Because I'm like, "Well, yeah, clearly I get it. You don't have, you just ruined the joke by beating the dead horse." Like when it's just something like that, he's not trying to be fun. He didn't come out and my he just had the eye
Right.
patch, and that shit was so
I
funny.
lost 3% vision in my
Yeah,
eye.
dude. It's
Josephus.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That like so this stuff, everything he does is really good. I liked when Eddie came out, and then yeah, but I did like the backstage segment with Cardona and Ryder last week. It was like, there he is, and he blew him off. Like that was really funny to me too. I liked, where Hernandez came and all this stuff. Like, I'll stop talking about Hernandez. I liked that whole thing. When Cardona came out, I was just like, oh fuck, they're already gonna pit these guys against each other. I would be okay if they did build towards it, or didn't not build towards it, but just did it down the road.
Okay.
From what I'm understanding, Matt Cardona has interest in sticking around with Impact. Um, Kind of what I was told was that he was going to come to Impact with Brian Myers initially when the Slammiversary thing. I don't know if he's coming to Slammiversary or after. I don't really know, but I know he was supposed to come there, and there was a miscommunication with something, and he ended up just going to AEW. But I think he had interest in staying with Brian Myers,
Right.
going to the same place.
Mm.
So, which is weird because when he went to AEW, he did say, "Well, I want to be here long term," and that didn't happen. So now
Right.
it almost feels like this is a backup plan. But I was told initially he wanted to come to Impact. So I'm okay with them fighting each other. I'm not ready for it now. I don't want to halt what Brian Myers is doing. It's just really good with let's try to rekindle this. Like
Right.
they were doing the right thing where it was just a slow elevation. He was losing here and there. He was winning, and now it's like okay, let's do a tag team match. It's
Right.
Teddy Long, tag team
Right.
match. And I was kind of disappointed when he said, "Oh, let's go get a tag team match for No Surrender." Like I would have really rather just seen Hernandez versus Eddie, like Brian Myers kind of said was going to happen, because that way it would just push the inevitable on little
Yeah.
further down the road.
All right. So now, what's your return policy? That's what I would ask. And apparently, that's what a lot of people have been asking Impact lately, because Impact has been the home, especially this show this week, has been nothing but returns. We got the return of Hernandez. We got the return of Mahabali Shira. And we got the return of ODB. Bam! Okay. Yeah. So, of those returns, how do you feel about those returns? Are they good returns? Are they positive for the show? Are they negative for the show? Do you like them? Do you love them? Do you hate them? What do you think of the returns?
Okay, so as far as Hernandez goes, what the point I was going to make earlier when he was doing the backstage segment with the money and the all that, I'm just like, it's kind of a cool, funny Mexican gimmick, but
Uh,
it's I was like, what can they do with that character on in the ring?
as a Puerto Rican, are you allowed to say it's a Mexican gimmick?
He's Mexican, is it? Yeah, he is Mexican.
No, but you're Puerto Rican, aren't you?
Yeah, but that's like he
No
looks
Puerto
like the
Ricans and Mexicans got beef. I ain't trying to get you seen in
no.
the
There's
streets,
no
man.
beef. No, the only beef is if you assume someone is Mexican when they're Puerto Rican, or assume that kind of stuff. That's when people get like I used to get really pissed off when I was younger. People are like, "Well, you're Mexican." I'm like, "Ask me what I am. Don't
Right.
like that used to
Say it again, motherfucker.
yeah used to really piss me off." Um, no, but with him doing the stereotypical Mexican thing, I was just like,
Yeah.
okay, that's kind of cool for some backstage stuff. But I was like, what can he do?
Mm,
Um, he showed up at that Call Your Shot Gauntlet. It was a big deal. Number 30 would and then eliminates himself.
right.
And I was just like, dude, what is this shit? Um, I didn't like him in that babyface role. They tried to push him as almost the main eventer, where he was like in the tournament for the world
Yeah.
title and all that shit. So it kind of seems like they're gonna do maybe a henchman thing with bodyguard type of thing with Brian Myers, which
Mm.
I'm okay with.
That's a good role for him.
Yeah, people say AEW is like WCW, where it's everyone's in a stable, everyone's in a faction. That doesn't bother me because it gives something for people to do. Like lately, Impact has been relying. They want to find something for everyone to do, so they're relying on all these like backstage segments and all this backstage comedy and like I don't care if someone's in a tag team faction, whatever. Like, give them something to do that's wrestling related. And I'm curious to see where it goes. They're a weird match, very weird pairing.
Yeah.
Like Ace Austin, and Madman Fulton fit. Like these two don't fit at all.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see where they go with that. With Shira, I don't think that's gonna last as far
Okay.
as him with Rohit.
He's in and out of Impact a lot.
Yeah, and he didn't feel like he fit the Desi Hit Squad the first time. It almost every time I watched the Desi Hit Squad, I was like, Shira's gonna turn on them at some point. Like
Yeah.
that's what I felt was gonna happen.
Mm.
But they might do the same thing where he's just the big guy with Rohit. That way that's several wrestlers with big like bodyguard type dudes. If they want to do
Right.
that, cool. And it's probably better for him than being on his own. But I really don't know what to expect with that. And then with ODB, I guess it's cool. But now you got her and you got Jazz, and it's just like
Right.
again we're appealing to a much older demographic here,
Mm.
and we want to see. They're just it almost feels like allergic to debuting like new faces,
Mm.
and attempting to build them.
Yeah.
You know,
I think when it comes to women's wrestling, like, I think Impact they have the ability to have diversity, but they have to pick like a theme, like a style for they have to pick like a signature style for their division. And it's tough to do that when you keep turning over the division, right? Like again, and when I say like a theme, a signature style, I mean it can be wrestling based or it can be character based. It can even be both, but you gotta have the pieces to make it both. You know what I mean? Like when you got Deonna Purrazzo, when you got Taya, Taya again, great character and great wrestler. Deonna Purrazzo, great wrestler, great wrestler. And there's other people, Jordan Grace, really good wrestler, right? Like, so you got the elements to have good wrestling, but the way Impact likes to do things, they're much more character based, right? So you're going to get like these goofy setups, for these matches that are like, and the thing is, the tough thing about that is if you're building around Deonna Purrazzo, if she's the star whose story you're trying to tell, then she's a wrestler. You got to put her in situations where it's about the wrestling. And I don't know that bringing in ODB and Jazz, although again, they can all work. They're vets in the game, like they
yeah,
can work. But Deonna Purrazzo is like a wrestler's wrestler. You know what I mean? Like she's a 30-minute Iron Woman match type of wrestler. Like, I mean, that's who she is. And I don't know that they're putting the tools around her to succeed right now. You know what I mean?
It's like if you're the Memphis Grizzlies and you're like, okay, we're gonna build around Ja Morant, then you don't be like, okay, so let's go sign Jared Dudley,
Right.
Tyson Chandler.
Never signed Jared Dudley.
Yeah,
Never.
never.
For no
Freaking
reason.
joke. But you bringing when you build around a young athlete, um,
Right.
you bring in the pieces that fit that young athlete's strengths, and yeah, and it's not they're not doing that. And a phrase I've been saying lately is that they want to remind you that AJ Styles was a part of TNA
Mm.
more than they want to find the next AJ Styles.
Right. Ooh,
So
ooh, that's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so they so
Good
they
point.
they really love this nostalgia shit and think that the fans want to see this. But the problem is, how many times is ODB going to return? It's kind of like Madison when Madison Rain came back from Ring of Honor. They put out a shirt like the queen is back, the B whatever, and
I
it's
don't
just
remember
like,
that
dude,
at all.
you remember that?
I don't remember.
Oh, it was a purple shirt.
I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just
Oh
saying I
yeah,
don't remember it. It wasn't memorable.
but they tried to make it a big like Madison Rain
Right.
returning, which I love Madison Rain, dude. But how many times was she going to return? You can't. There's only so many times where it's a big deal, and then it's just like, okay, you're here for a few months. We'll see you again down the road.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I don't know that it just moved the needle in any way, but
Yeah. All right. So we get it. The returns for the most part are nah.
yeah.
Although I think out of these returns, which do you think has the most potential to be something big?
Ooh, that's a whew.
I'm gonna give you
uh,
my pick. I think of these returns, Shira paired with Rohit has the potential to be something big. Rohit's been getting better and better with his character work. They've been giving him more and more of an opportunity to be a serious character, a serious player. We know he can talk, and you just give him a big goon. Listen, in WWE, the sure shot sign that a champion is about to have a long title reign is when they give him a goon. So,
true.
so we know Rohit can talk. Give him a goon. Give him a
Yeah.
goon, and that was and put that X Division title back on him, and let him just be the cowardly heel, this having Shira interfere in his matches, and let him be the champion nobody can take down for a while. I think that has potential to be a really good act.
I think you're right because if you don't do that, what else are you going to do with Shearer? Because they try to make Gama Singh the mouthpiece for a while, and he was a horrible talker.
Right. Meanwhile, Rohit is the mouthpiece.
Right. Yeah, and then you got Brian Myers. He's a mouthpiece. Like that really
Mm-hmm.
works if they want to do the Hernandez thing. You know,
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
guys like that who can't talk. They just have to be in that kind of role. I mean,
Yeah.
God.
It's a good role. It's a good role.
I was watching a Survivor series the other day from 1980 something.
Nice.
Just thinking of man, all these managers
Yeah.
coming down. I was thinking how many of those guys were enhanced by someone who could just do the talking for them instead
Yeah.
of leaving them on their own accord to, like the Warlord was one I was watching. I was like, dude, as Powers of Pain, like he was awesome, but I was like,
Mm-hmm.
you just threw him out there like, oh, the Warlord, and he's forced to cut his own promos and get his. I mean, can you
I can only
imagine?
imagine. I bet I can tell you exactly what that sounded like. It was terrible.
Right, right.
Lots of screaming, lots of grunting. you know?
But I think ODB will have the most impact as far as like being a part of an important angle. Like
Mm,
they're probably gonna team her and Jazz up at the pay per view versus
yeah.
Karen Tasha. That's what I think.
Interesting. I can't say I'm excited about it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not either. But I mean, at least I'm pretty sure they don't bring these people back to not give them a title shot at the pay per view.
Mm.
ODB last time she came back, she was in a Knockouts Championship match. So
So I got one more point about the show that I want
okay,
to get your take on. And you know me, I'm not a big commentary guy. It is noticeable that Josh Matthews is no longer there, but typically I don't notice the commentary list is good or it's bad. Now I do notice what the commentators are saying. And tonight, or not tonight, but on Impact, I noticed that they were trying to sell me a dreamer. And when I say sell me a dreamer, I'm telling you, these guys were talking about Tommy Dreamer just doesn't move like he used to. You know, Tommy Dreamer doesn't get up as fast and all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a minute, wait a damn minute. I'm like, y'all are trying to tell. If I didn't know better, I would think y'all are trying to tell me, y'all trying to sell me on babyface underdog Tommy Dreamer for his upcoming main event against Rich Swann. And if I didn't know better, that sounds like y'all are building to a Tommy Dreamer improbable win. I hope I know better. I hope I know better.
Dude.
BQ, what do you think about this potentially? I don't even know the words.
I really
That type
wouldn't
of
put it
situation.
past them. The only reason I'm like, there's no way they're gonna do that is because clearly they're trying to do something with Moose and Swan. I can't see. I I can't see an instance where he drops the title and then Moose turns his attention to Tommy Dreamer or something like that. I mean, yeah, to Tommy Dreamer. I don't see it. I just kind of see this as, they had the little backstage talk, and he's just like, Swan was basically saying, "You're old, don't get blown up out there. Just tag me.
Right.
You need, you know what I mean." And it became bigger than just, here's a title match because it's your birthday. So I can appreciate we're trying to add a little drama to it, and trying to make the story not about, another Tommy Dreamer match.
Yeah.
They're trying to put some kind of context behind it, so I can appreciate it. It wouldn't shock me if he won, but if he did, it would be transitional. It would have to be.
Mm, mm.
Um,
Interesting.
I would feel like he would drop it pretty quick again.
When you say transitional, though, transition is to get you from one place to another. So does that mean that it would go Swan, Dreamer, Moose? Or what are you thinking would be the transition there?
Yeah, so maybe I guess maybe transitional is the wrong word. I guess I meant like a placeholder. Like, we need someone to hold the belt while we tell this different story with Swan and Moose for a little bit, and then when we're ready to come back to it, um,
So
get
you
the
think he would
belt.
like get to hold the title for a while they're doing Swan and Moose, and then, bro, I think that would be bad business, such bad business if they put the title on Tommy Dreamer, man.
Yeah.
Like, yo, there's no good story. No, listen, I felt the same way when they put the title on Mick Foley. I was like, I just could not believe they did that to their world title. And that's I'm not saying no disrespect to Mick Foley, but like, give me a fucking break, right? I mean, I'm just saying there was nothing that made your promotion look positive by having Mick Foley hold your title at that point in time. And same thing here. There would be nothing. Listen, Tommy Dreamer is an excellent pro wrestler. I said it. I'll say it again. Tommy Dreamer is an excellent pro wrestler. And clearly you can tell by those words I just said that I don't mean pro wrestling in terms of how many moves you can do. Can you flip, flop, fly, dip, duck, dive, and dodge? Right? I don't mean that. I mean, you know what I mean? Pro wrestling, like, sell me a story, make me want to watch a fight and make me care. And Tommy Dreamer is good at that. No matter what anybody wants to say, you let Tommy Dreamer cut a promo, Tommy Dreamer will cut your ass a promo. And because he's older and he's not in the best shape, it's easy to get sympathy on him. Tommy Dreamer is an excellent pro wrestler, right? He can do the function of a pro wrestler very well. That said, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it, man. I don't want to see. I want to see the Impact title be on somebody who fans can get behind or hate, and they don't feel either one of those things for Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah,
So it's just to me, it's got bad news written all over it.
it would be a mistake because they need something to legitimize Rich Swan's title run.
Right.
Just beating Eric Young in a 3-minute rematch.
Mm-hmm.
what does that do for his legacy as the champion? I mean, he went to
Right.
Hard to Kill as the champion, took a pin. He took a pin this episode of Impact, right?
Oh, yes, he did. Yes, he did. He took a pin. Moose pinned him.
Yeah. So
They did it because with the with the match coming up between Dreamer and Swan, this was the whole reluctant tag partners thing, and the way the finish worked out, it was like Moose was going to spear Dreamer. Dreamer moved out the way, and of course he spears Swan, and Moose ends up pinning Rich Swan right there. So you accomplished a few things, right? You furthered the story of Moose, chasing the world title, and you cause friction for the team for what was supposed to be a mutual respect match is now gaining much more animosity between Rich Swann and Tommy Dreamer.
they're really using Chris Bay as a throw-in wrestler, man, for all these angles. Like, hey, we
Yeah.
just need an extra body. Um,
But see, you know what? I don't necessarily see it like that. I mean, you can definitely you're not wrong, but it's still good to be in that spot, you know?
yeah. I don't mean that he's like a throwaway. Uh,
Yeah.
like my girl Alicia Edwards, where they're just like, hey, we just need someone for an angle,
Yeah.
so we're gonna use. And just so you know, don't have blinders on. MC Lish was the one of the worst things I've ever seen. So while I'm
That shit was
always like,
awful.
while I'm always on Team Alicia, dude, like that was really rough for me. And that's why I always say find something for her to do and establish her, because then you just become that person we just have to uh,
Right.
fill in the blanks with, and
Yeah.
do multiple things. So no, I'm not putting Chris Bay in that category, but he's just not quite getting the shine, but he's in big matches. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, um, but what I was saying was Swan has to. I mean, if he were to drop the title here, it'd be like, dude, what kind of waste of a title run was that?
Mm,
It's like the dude got pinned by Kenny Omega in his
right.
ring, and he wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna go to AEW and do this and nothing. He's just like,
Yeah.
hey, I lost, guys. Um, let's focus my attention to someone I can beat. You know, at some point you got to
It's
get the
tough
ball.
because in order to be a good champion, you got to win big matches. And it's hard for Impact to make big matches, man. It is.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
hard for them to make big matches because we talked about this before. Like they don't have a Roman Reigns, and I don't mean that by they don't have somebody with star quality. I mean they don't have anybody that they make feel dominant. So you got Rich Swann, and he's your world champion now, and we know Rich Swann can wrestle great matches, but you have not made Rich Swann feel like a big deal. Somebody who, when he walks out of that curtain, it matters. You have a chance to do that with Moose, and honestly, they should when Moose gets his hands on that title, he should hold it for like a year
Yeah. Oh yeah.
until like Josh Alexander is ready. And
Yeah.
then you have a big match with those two, right? You know what I mean? Find a way to build big matches. That's what Impact has to start doing. They have to start making people feel like big stars because your last few champions, Rich Swann, Eddie Edwards, Eric Young, none of them felt like big stars. They can all wrestle, right? They can all have really good matches. They're all good TV workers, but they don't feel like big stars.
But I will say with Eddie Edwards, he needed to beat Lashley to get to the main event scene. Had he
Right.
not had Lashley there, and he got a win over Mike Bennett, and
Yeah.
and okay, now you're a main eventer, like, oh, no one, people would have never bought that. Now, granted,
Yeah.
people didn't like when he beat Lashley. Um, I was there in person, and I was just,
Yeah.
I blacked out. I was like, oh my god, when I saw him hit the three, and then he beat Cody. You know what I mean? So he got some big wins, which at least justify his place in the card now. That he would have never been able to get there if he didn't have those big wins. Like,
No, I totally agree with you. But again, this is the fault of Impact is they don't you got to remind us of that so that we think of this person as a big deal. You know what I mean? Like they will never let you forget that Roman Reigns beat the Undertaker. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
you'll never forget that. just like all of that stuff. Like, so again, Impact has it. Rich Swan's another perfect example. Rich Swan got a resume. Rich Swan, I think, wrestled a 5-star match with like Johnny Impact, I think it was. They had like a
Yeah, that was
5-star
great.
match.
Yeah.
He's got a victory over Sammy Callahan. He won that big gauntlet match they had. Like, Rich Swan has a resume, but you have to emphasize it and make it feel like a big deal, and they haven't done a great job of doing that.
Like Jericho's tagline was always like I beat The Rock and Stone Cold in the same night.
Yes.
Um, and then Miz used to be like I main event at WrestleMania, and they used to say it and say it and say it, and yeah, it got kind of annoying. But I was watching that pay per view when Jericho won. I was at it was early in my military career, so
Mhm.
all my buddies and I used to go to the bowling alley and watch the pay per view, and there was a good always 50, 60 people in this like party room. I mean, everyone
Right.
just came to the bowling alley to watch uh, the pay per view every month. Um, and I remember I was there and Jericho won it, and people were legitimately shocked, and people were like, "Oh
Yeah.
my god, like that dude's not a world champion!" Like
Right.
it's
Yeah.
crazy to think at one point this dude had the belt, and it's just like, "Oh my god, what the hell are they thinking?"
Hmm.
Now you can put any title on him, and any company would love to have this dude.
Right.
And he's
So
not a
right. So this
big
goes back
guy.
to our point, which is that you gotta build the wins. You gotta have the big wins in order to build the star. And like I said, I think if you really think about it and you look back, Rich Swan does have big wins, but Impact is not reminding us, the audience, that he has these big wins. You know?
Yeah, and it's like the last big stars you had. When I say big stars, I mean your main eventers. Brian Cage left without really getting anyone over. Um, Tessa Blanchard was gone before she could drop the belt to anyone and
Mhm.
give them the rub. A lot of these guys leave, like when the Hardys left years ago.
Yeah.
Decay didn't beat them for the titles.
Right.
Um, Drew Galloway, I think he left out of the blue. I want to say, um,
Yeah, he lost pretty clean to Lashley a couple of times, I think.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. It's like there's no transition from
Right.
the departing main eventers to the ones that are supposed to take their spot.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
All right. So that's pretty much all we got for this episode of Impact. Now you said you had a burning question.
so we got to talk about this. There's talk on social media about it, and we don't know the big picture with this AEW thing. I think, and we figured this was a possibility. I think a lot of the Impact fans tried to make this something that it wasn't between the two companies. I think we fantasy booked this into something that it's really not.
Mm,
I say that we don't know what's to come. We don't know who's going to show up. We don't know who's going to wrestle who's going to beat who's going to who's going to lose to who. But does it feel to you right now that this, whatever it is between Impact and AEW, does it feel one-sided to you? Without knowing what's to come, like right now, it just feels. And you made the comment before, they shouldn't pretend the two companies like this because they're not.
right.
But it, it's as I said, Rich Swan takes the pin to Kenny Omega, and then he just moves on the next week, and he's I lost. There's nothing I can do about it. Tommy Dreamer, can you meet me in the ring? It, it's like, hey, hold this L, Impact, and do nothing about it. Tony Khan comes on, he's promoting his show, he's talking shit. No, there's no retaliation.
Mhm.
There's no, when Swan and Motor City Machine Guns getting their ass kicked on Impact Television, they didn't go to Dynamite and try to return the favor. Like,
It's true. It's true.
so do you think right now it's and Private Party beats pretty much the second best tag team in Impact right now by
Mhm.
default, but Storm and Saban beat them. They just come in and beat these guys. So do you think right now this is just one sided, or do you think it's still kind of mutually beneficial Oh, hello. Weeks.
No, I do not think that this is a one-sided relationship. I think that as Impact fans, right, we are conditioned that Impact is taking the L here. That Impact is just getting the crap end of the stick, and that they're just being used and whatever will be thrown away, yada, 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 yada. I think that this relationship between AEW and Impact and New Japan, who we're seeing now, if you guys have seen AEW this week, then you know what I'm talking about. And even if you haven't seen AEW this week, then you should still, if you saw Hard to Kill, you saw that the Bullet Club came out wearing Bullet Club gear. And if you haven't noticed, you haven't seen that Bullet Club gear anywhere but in New Japan. And the reason why is because Bullet Club is an intellectual property that is owned by New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that means that it's not showing up anywhere without New Japan's approval. So when you saw the Bullet Club, when you saw Kenny Omega, when you saw Gallows and Anderson come out wearing their Bullet Club gear at Hard to Kill, that should have been dead giveaway that New Japan is a part of this relationship. And so I think as fans, we have a tendency to try and make something look like something that we've seen before. So people want this to be like an invasion angle or some sort of war between Impact and AEW, you know, where just like WWE does for Survivor Series every year now, when it's like Raw versus SmackDown, the Raw team will run into SmackDown one week, then the SmackDown team will run into Raw the next week, you know, that type of stuff. And so people want to see it be like what they know. And what I'm saying is that this is something that we have not seen. And I think we got to stop trying to make it fit some other format that we know. You know what I mean? This is something that is different. Like what I think this is, if you had to try and describe what this AEW Impact Wrestling relationship is, I think that AEW is really trying to be here for wrestling fans and for wrestling so that they can say, hey, we're all together. We're all here for wrestling for the fans. I think they're trying to execute what Jeff Jarrett's vision was for Global Force Wrestling, which is, what does this look like in a year? A year from now, you could potentially see an episode of AEW that features a talent from Impact, a talent from New Japan, and AEW talents. And then later that week, you see an episode of Impact that features an AEW talent and a New Japan talent and a AAA talent, right? And eventually what you end up with is several shows that are all full of unique talent, and fan bases can watch all of these shows and enjoy them. And it's not like, I like NXT, I like AEW, your product sucks. No, your product sucks. You know, it's like, no, I like wrestling. Look at all this great wrestling that's on. And so what AEW is doing is great and healthy for wrestling. They're not trying to necessarily elevate Impact for the sake of elevating Impact. They're elevating wrestling. And they're not like they're opening borders. And so that the people that want to see, you know, Thunder Rosa against, you know, we were talking about how Deonna Purrazzo's running out of people to wrestle. What happens if Thunder Rosa shows up on Impact next month?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Damn it, I want to see that match. Give me Thunder Rosa versus Deonna Purrazzo. That's a match, right? So that's what I think AEW is doing. They're creating something where, you know, they're putting their arm around the kid with no friends, and they're putting their arm around the other kids with friends, and they're saying, hey, we're all on the same team against you, the mean jock Biff from Back to the Future. Or what was the guy's name from Spider-Man? Well, Flash. We're all against you, Flash, right? And WWE is Flash, right? And they're in their world where only they matter, and it doesn't matter what else you did anywhere else. You come to WWE, you go to the bottom of the list, the back of the line, whatever, and they're not necessarily trying to uh compete like in a Monday Night War sense, but they're saying to fans, hey, you can keep trying to convince yourself that shit is cool, you know what I mean? Or you can come look at this show with variety, with exciting wrestlers, with people from different shows on different nights, and you can come have fun. You know what I mean? You come have fun, or you can stay over there trying to be with the cool thing. You know what I mean? And I think they're making wrestling fun for wrestling fans. They're drawing a line in the sand where it's like, yo, look, I'm gonna let you finish.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble was cool, but we're doing fun wrestling over here. And I think that's what's going on. So I don't think it's a one-sided relationship. I think it's an all-inclusive program where everybody's going to be in this, and everybody's going to be getting exposure, and everybody's going to get great matches, and I think that everybody's going to stand to benefit.
It's almost like they're trying to be what Vince McMahon once upon a time put out of business, which was the territories and the talent exchange with the territories. And I like going to independent wrestling shows a lot. I've been to shows that drew more people than an episode of Impact.
Mm,
You know, but a lot of the time it was because the independent company had their roster, and then they're uh, bringing in dudes that you're not going to see on a regular
right.
basis. Um, like you said, there's no Roman Reigns, so
Mm,
the best way to draw is to bring someone for a very short period of time, or for one match, or whatever it is. This I went to Glory Pro Wrestling. Cody was there. Um, Marufuji was there right after Impact pay per view, and he wrestled Donovan Dijak and it was the best match I've ever seen in person in my life.
mm,
Um, and I don't like Donovan Dijak at all.
right.
What is he, like, T-bar or something?
Yeah.
Slap ass. But I didn't like him in Ring of Honor. But this was the best match I've ever seen. Um, but I had to get those tickets because I wasn't gonna see that again.
Yeah, right.
And Cody probably wasn't coming in my town anytime soon.
Right.
Again, you know what I mean. So this is the way to do it. That they're not making a big. I guess they're doing pretty good with the free agent signings, but they're not building new stars at all. They're not
Mm,
even attempting to, in my opinion. I shouldn't say not totally. If you got a guy like Trey, Ace Austin, I get that, but I mean, there's no. We're bringing in a guy who's starting at the bottom and working his way.
right.
I mean, we just really don't see that.
Yeah.
Um, So yeah, I think it is part of a bigger picture. For us as Impact fans, we're like, oh, it's a partnership, but for AEW, who's kind of in a driver's seat of this, they're like, no, it's just freshening up wrestling and give wrestling something that didn't exist before. It just sucks that here we are as the Impact fan, feeling like sometimes we're on the losing end because
Right.
so far the AEW people have come into to the Impact zone and won,
Right.
and there's no comeuppance from this side. There's not even sniffing. I guess the Good Brothers are going to win, but do they feel?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, do you really think Private Party's gonna beat the
Yeah,
the Good Brothers for the Impact Tag titles?
no, they won't beat
No
them.
chance.
But do the Good Brothers, do you feel like Impact Wrestling stars, or they feel like, hey, AEW didn't have room for us, so we're going to get paid by these guys and then go wrestle on AEW anyway? Like they when they show up on AEW, they're doing a better job of name dropping Impact on the show than they were a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Even John Moxley the other day is like, I come into this company, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Impact's here. I don't know if so and so's. Like they're just they're name dropping it a lot more. But I forgot where I was going with it. But oh no, but when the Good Brothers showed up the other night, they wrestled. They didn't announce them as the Impact Tag Team Champions.
Hmm,
You
interesting.
know, nothing. So it just almost feels like it doesn't feel that the Good Brothers are this waving the flag for Impact Wrestling when they go over there. Not even Don Callis
I
is.
mean, it might not feel like it, but it's also, but they are there with the Impact Tag Team titles on. You know what I mean? They don't
Yeah.
like leave those belts, like that. You wear those belts for a reason, right? To signify, that it's a badge of honor, right? That you want, that you have this championship. So they're bringing those belts on TV, and a whole audience is seeing them that doesn't get to see Impact Wrestling. And so, and like you said, the commentators do mention Jim Ross, the Impact Tag Champions, like they do. So they do mention Impact Wrestling, but again, this is not a partnership on equal footing. And the stars of this partnership are the Bullet Club. You know what I mean? It's not like, and the cool thing is, right? The Bullet Club spans several organizations. And so I'm pretty sure eventually we'll get to see more of, like, I'm sure that Omega and the Good Brothers are going to show up at a New Japan event. You know what I mean? And they're gonna, do the two sweet with the, who's left. I don't even know who's in Bullet Club anymore. You know what I mean? I think it's like Tamatanga and Ishimori. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not really sure who all is in Bullet Club now, but Bullet Club again, like, that's cool, bro. Like
Yeah.
that is cool if you're having these guys from across all these organizations all coming together and working together and just working together to make the show hot. Again, not like an invasion angle per se, but it's like, okay, hey, there's a New Japan Tag Team Championship match, and the Good Brothers and Omega came to help these guys win the match. Who saw that coming, right? It's just a cool thing for wrestling fans, and I think that, yeah, man, like I think it's a great thing for everybody involved, man. So I think if you're an Impact Wrestling fan, stop trying to look at this as like, an exchange, or like, 50-50 booking, like this company got to win, now this company got to get a win. Like, to me, I don't think it has to be that way, because again, if you're Impact, you are not on equal footing with AEW. You're not. This is a 70-30 split. Like, they're bringing a lot more to the table. And so, yeah, like, but don't even worry about it. Don't even think about it like that. Just enjoy what's happening. Cheer your favorite wrestlers, boo the people you hate the most, and tell a friend to tell a friend, right? Let's enjoy the wrestling.
Right. Right. Um, yeah. With Thunder Rosa, she's the only representative from NWA.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
NWA, who, by the way, Billy Corgan says, he has had nothing fond to say about Impact.
Right.
And, also, is NWA still a thing? And if so, for how much longer? That's a fair
Well,
question to ask at this point.
it needs to be a thing because I love that freaking company. Corgan said they were gonna film here pretty soon. They're just gonna go ahead with empty arena wrestling.
Yeah.
They didn't want he didn't want to because he's like the crowd's such a big
Mm-hmm.
part of what we do.
Yeah.
To where we've discussed this before. Like the crowd was never a big part of the Impact show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this piped in crowd noise they do. I would love for them to leave it in at about 20% of the volume it's at right now,
Mm-hmm.
just to add a little bit of white noise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Still let the fans be the noise, but just to add a little
Yeah.
bit of white noise. I hope that they can do that because you know I always talk about that disconnect the live Impact. When I say live, I mean the actual wrestling going on in front of people. The
Right.
disconnect between that and the audience.
Yeah.
And I thought about it more the other day. NWA does everything in front of their audience,
Mm-hmm.
smaller scale. And then I was watching Dynamite last week, and I was watching it just a couple days ago, but it's from last week, and I was saying to myself like, wow, they build almost nothing backstage. Like almost every single angle they build is done in the ring somehow.
Right.
They're not, to where Impact's real like backstage heavy, and we bump each other in the hallway. And now we're in a feud.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time, but I mean, I can think of 3 instances off the top of my head right now without even trying, where it was bumping each other in the hallway and then having a feud.
Right.
But the fans in the arena don't connect with that because it's not happening right in front of them.
Right.
And then if you go to an Impact show, they don't actually play that shit on the screen.
Right.
I went to one where they were, but for the most part, they don't. Um, that's where I brought this up once before when Josh. Do you remember when Josh Matthews was the spiritual advisor for Matt Sydal?
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
when Josh Matthews came out as the reveal, he came out to crickets because the live Impact audience never saw anything that had to do with Matt Sydal having a spiritual advisor.
Oh,
Everything was built backstage, and then it comes to
right.
the ring, and it's like, I don't know what I'm watching.
Right.
You know, I don't even know how I got into all that, because it has nothing to do with the topic. But I just completely rabbit trailed.
Yeah, no, but I mean, listen, I think that's I think that was a good fun question. That was something that came in from our comment section, right?
It might have sparked an idea in my head, but
Yeah,
I just kind of
but
came
I
up.
said that to say, listen, if you guys like the stuff we're talking about and you have stuff you want to hear us talk about, let us know. Drop your questions or stuff you want to hear us review. Drop them in the comment section below. Let us know, if you agree with us, if you don't agree with us, if you think we're crazy, if you think I'm really handsome, like if you like BQ's hat, tell us everything you want to tell us. Tell us where you're from. How long you would listen to the show. What you enjoy. Do you like Chinese food, long walks on the beach? What's your Tinder profile? You know what I mean? Tell us all this stuff, man. I'm just kidding. We really don't want that. We want your Impact Wrestling comments and questions.
We want
But
your
definitely drop your comments right below and, drop your name, where you're from, so we can read them back to you and, and let's make this show fun for you, the listener, the
and we
watcher,
want
the
we
viewer.
want your content ideas for the Cool Factor, because as I said, we really don't want to review Impact. We're gonna just like we did today, talk about some things that stood out. And I know sometimes we review this show, but that's not really what we want to do. We actually kind of want to just have conversation about things that we hope you want to hear about. So
Do you want to see BQ drink hot sauce? Drop it in the comment section
I can't
below.
I can't I don't do spicy anything.
Yeah.
People assume being Hispanic that no. Nothing of any spice can I handle. Everything needs to be as mild and bland as possible. So
I learned to embrace spice. I was much more like I like sweets, as I'm sure you can tell. So like I just wasn't into like spicy food, but I learned that actually spice is actually very good flavor. So, but I still but I don't go like extra hot. Like, listen, my buddy, he will eat the spiciest wings, anything he can find. Like the sweat will be pouring from the top of his head because of all the spice that he's eating. I can't do it. But I mean, like
yeah,
I'll have some Frank's Red Hot on my eggs. I'll drop that on my pizza. Adds a nice little zing, little kick to it.
yeah. Think of that. I have put few dabs on like eggs or something before, just to give it a
It's
little
amazing.
something. But
It's
my
amazing.
tolerance is not high.
Yeah.
It's not high at all.
Once it becomes a pain contest, I'm out.
Right, right. Like I don't understand, why do you want to just like profusely sweat?
it's a,
It, it
it's a macho thing. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah,
proving you can take it. I don't know. Remember when the ghost pepper chip challenge was going around?
yes,
There was such a funny video of Shaq. He ate it. He was like, "This is nothing to me."
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. That shit was
It's like,
funny.
I'm
Um,
not into that.
I'm not into messy food either. So I like wings, but you're not gonna catch me eat wings with a bunch of sauce on them. I'll get like a dry rub or something like that. I
I
hate
like a good dry rub, but as
stuff
long
all
as
over.
it's tasty, man. As long as it's tasty.
Yeah, yeah. I
I'm
just
here for like even if it's messy. If it's tasty, I'm here for it.
I
Give
don't
me
know. I can't be
some
having
wet
stuff all
naps.
over my. I can't be having stuff all over my fingers and like wasting a bunch of paper towels and stuff. Like
Oh my god. All right, man. I think we've exhausted our impact conversation for tonight. We're
yeah,
talking about wings and wet naps.
yeah, yeah. I know. Need to cut that out. So hope you guys dug the show. We'll do it again next week. Please give us your content ideas so we can just have good impact conversation, and that'll be it. Leave the reviews for the people who do reviews and who enjoy doing reviews and all that. That's just not a space we really want to worry about right now. So thank you much. We will talk to you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.